Three girls, just teenagers. They were trying to get to a nightclub, and they never made it. 75 days later, someone found them buried in a remote ravine. What happened to them was so brutal, it changed Spain forever. Police said it was just two men. But one of them disappeared, like he was never there. And the other, his story kept changing. Then, investigators found something strange. Evidence that didn't match either suspect. And one father spent years saying, this wasn't just a crime. He believed powerful people were involved, and that the truth was being covered up. On a Friday night in November 1992, three teenage girls from the small town of Alcàsser, Spain, set out for a night of dancing. They never made it to the club. Today, we're unmasking the case of the Alcàsser girls. It was the birth of a national obsession that blurred the lines between news and entertainment. When their bodies were finally found 75 days later in a remote ravine, Spain wasn't just grieving, it was terrified. For decades, the official version of what happened at La Romana has been challenged by grieving parents, investigative journalists, and theories of elite snuff rings. A tragedy that officially closed, but in the hearts of many, remains a haunting open wound. 14-year-old Miriam Garcia Iborra, 15-year-old Antonia Toñi Gomez Rodriguez, and 14-year-old Desiree Hernandez Folch were typical teenagers. On November 13, 1992, they were hitchhiking to a party at the Cooler nightclub. A local resident saw them climb into a white car, likely an Opel Corsa, carrying two men. It was the last time they were seen alive. As weeks turned into months, the search became a media frenzy. New private TV channels in Spain turned the girls' families into household names, hosting nightly live specials. When two beekeepers finally discovered the girls' remains in January 1993, the cameras were already there. The discovery was brutal. The girls had been kidnapped, raped, and tortured for hours before being shot. But at the scene, police found a strange clue. A Social Security referral note belonging to Enrique Angles, which led them straight to a family of known criminals. Police quickly cleared the mentally disabled Enrique, but his brother, Antonio Angles, was a different story. He was a violent, high-level hoodlum who had already escaped prison. When police moved to arrest him, Angles reportedly leapt from a fourth-story window and vanished into thin air. He became Spain's most wanted fugitive, allegedly stowing away on a ship to Ireland before jumping overboard into the freezing Atlantic. He has never been found. This left only one man to face the music, Miguel Ricard, known as the Blonde. Ricard confessed several times, but his stories were a mess of contradictions. Sometimes he claimed he only watched, other times he detailed horrific involvement. Many, including Miriam's father, Fernando Garcia, began to suspect Ricard was merely a low-level scapegoat being used to cover for much more powerful people. This is where the Alcàsser case becomes a black hole of true crime. Fernando Garcia joined forces with a controversial journalist, Juan Ignacio Blanco, and went on primetime TV to allege a massive cover-up. They claimed the girls weren't killed by two local thugs, but by a cabal of powerful elites. politicians and businessmen who allegedly paid for the girls to be used in a clandestine snuff film. While no concrete evidence of this ring was ever produced in court, the theories persisted because of the forensic gaps. The original autopsies were heavily criticized for being rushed and poorly documented. 7 distinct hairs were found at the scene that did not match Ricard or Anglais. To this day, thousands of Spaniards believe the true killers are still walking free in high society. Miguel Ricard was sentenced to 170 years. But due to a 2013 legal ruling, he was released after serving just 21. Since then, he has been seen in drug squats in Madrid and Barcelona, most recently in late 2022. He remains a pariah in Spanish society. As of early 2026, the quest for answers continues. New DNA technology is being applied to the original evidence, and the statute of limitations for Antonio Anglais, if he is still alive, is set to expire in November 2029. For many, the Alcàsser murders aren't just a cold case. They are a symbol of a loss of trust in the system. Was it 2 monsters in a white car, or a shadow that reached much higher? When the Alcàsser case officially closed, Spain tried to move on. But something fundamental had already changed. For the first time, an entire nation had watched a criminal investigation unfold live, raw, emotional, and often irresponsible. The murders didn't just traumatize families. They rewired how fear spread. Parents stopped letting children hitchhike. Small towns locked their doors. The idea that evil only lived in distant cities disappeared overnight. Alcàsser proved it could arrive in any quiet place without warning. But beyond fear, the case left behind unanswered contradictions, details that never fully aligned. Why were key forensic procedures rushed? Why were potential leads dismissed so quickly? And why did critical evidence remain poorly documented, even in a case of this magnitude? These questions were never fully resolved, not because they were disproven, but because the investigation moved forward without ever looking back. Miguel Ricard's conviction gave the case an ending, but not an explanation. His confessions shifted repeatedly, sometimes contradicting physical evidence, sometimes contradicting themselves, and yet he remains the only person to serve time for one of the most horrific crimes in Spanish history. For many, that alone keeps doubt alive. And then there is the silence surrounding Antonio Anglais. No final chapter. His disappearance created a vacuum, one filled by theories, speculation, and mistrust. In true crime, uncertainty is fuel, and Alcàsser had plenty of it. As years passed, the case stopped being just about who committed the murders. It became about whether the truth itself had limits, and who decides when a story is finished. Journalists argued, families fractured, public opinion split into camps that still exist today. Some believe the simplest explanation is the right one. Others believe simplicity was the lie. And maybe that is the real legacy of Alcàsser. Not a solved crime, not an unsolved mystery, but a permanent fracture between justice and belief. Because when trust in institutions breaks, facts alone are no longer enough. And once doubt takes hold, it doesn't fade, it survives, passed from one generation to the next. More than 30 years later, people still ask the same question. Did Spain witness the capture of monsters? Or the concealment of something far worse? What we do know is this 3 girls left home one Friday night and never returned. And nothing, no verdict, no sentence, no official explanation has ever fully put them to rest. Some stories end when the credits roll. Others linger. Because the truth was never allowed to speak.